How to build wealth through strategic daily habits. Welcome to How to Build Wealth Through Strategic Daily Habits. Let us get straight to the point. Wealth is rarely about luck, lottery tickets, or inheriting a massive fortune. It is about what you do today, tomorrow, and the next day. Wealth is simply the result of your daily habits. In this book, we're going to strip away the confusing financial jargon and focus on the practical, everyday actions that self-made millionaires use to build their fortunes. If you can change your daily routine, you can change your bank account. Let us dive in. Before we begin, I have a simple question for you to answer in the comment section. Tell me, what is the one daily habit you currently have that you think is helping you build wealth? Comment your answer below so we can learn from each other. Chapter 1. The Mindset and Morning Routine of the Self-Made. The journey to financial freedom begins long before you ever see $1 million in your bank account. It begins in the quiet hours of the morning, while the rest of the world is still asleep. This chapter is about taking complete control of your day before the world takes control of you. We are going to explore the exact habits that self-made millionaires use to build their fortunes. We will not just talk about the principles. We will talk about exactly how you can implement these habits into your life starting right now. Let us look at the facts. Thomas Corley is a researcher who spent 5 years studying the daily activities of 233 wealthy individuals. He found something fascinating. Wealth is not mostly inherited. According to his study, 78% of millionaires started as middle class or low income. Only 22% grew up in high-income families. This means the vast majority of wealthy people had to build their fortunes from the ground up. They did not have a magic wand. They had discipline. They had specific daily habits. Another study by Fidelity Investments found that 86% of millionaires made their own wealth. They did not get rich quick. Corley found that it takes an average of 32 years for a self-made person to hit the millionaire mark. 80% of current millionaires did not hit that mark until they were at least 50 years old. This is a marathon. You need patience. You need persistence. You need the right daily habits to carry you through the decades. The most important habit of all is how you start your day. The morning is your foundation. If you win the morning, you win the day. Research shows that nearly 50% of self-made millionaires wake up at least 3 hours before their workday actually begins. Let that sink in. 3 hours. If their workday starts at 9 in the morning, they are out of bed by 6 or even earlier. Many billionaires wake up even earlier than that. Apple Chief Executive Officer Tim Cook is known to start his day at 3:45 in the morning. Richard Branson wakes up at 5 in the morning. Why do they do this? Because the early morning hours are the only time of the day that you can completely control. Once the sun comes up and the world wakes up, your phone starts ringing. Emails start pouring in. Your family needs your attention. Your boss needs your help. Emergencies happen. If you wait until the end of the day to work on your personal goals, you will never get them done because you will be completely exhausted. The wealthy protect their time by waking up before the demands of the world begin. Now let us talk about how to actually do this. Waking up early is not a genetic gift. It is a trainable skill. You have the power to change your internal clock. Here is the step-by-step process to become an early riser and take control of your morning. Step 1. Win the night before. You cannot master your morning if you do not master your evening. Sleep experts from the Sleep Foundation recommend planning your day the night before. Take 10 minutes every evening to write down what you need to do the next day. Lay out your clothes for the morning. Prepare your work bag. This eliminates decision fatigue. When you wake up early, your brain is still trying to boot up. If you have to make 10 decisions about what to wear and what to eat, you are going to get frustrated and go back to bed. Make it easy for your morning self. Prepare everything in advance. Next, you must set a strict bedtime. If you want to wake up at 5 in the morning, you cannot go to sleep at midnight. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep to function at a high level. Work backwards from your wake-up time and establish a hard lights-out rule. Turn off all screens at least 30 minutes before bed. The blue light from your phone tricks your brain into thinking it is still daytime, which stops the production of melatonin, the sleep hormone. Read a physical book instead. Slow your brain down. Step 2. The physical alarm clock strategy. The biggest enemy of wealth building is the snooze button. When you hit snooze, you are starting your day with procrastination. You are telling your subconscious mind that your goals are not as important as 9 more minutes of low-quality sleep. To fix this, you must change your environment. Do not sleep with your phone right next to your bed. Put your alarm clock or your phone across the room. Better yet, put it in the bathroom or the kitchen. Make it loud. When that alarm goes off, you must physically throw the covers off, stand up on your 2 feet, and walk across the room to turn it off. By the time you reach the alarm, you are already out of bed. The hardest part is over. Do not negotiate with yourself. Do not lay there and think about how tired you are. Just stand up. Action creates momentum. Step 3. Seek immediate light and movement. Once you turn off the alarm, you need to wake your brain up. According to sleep science, light exposure is the most powerful way to reset your circadian rhythm. Open your blinds immediately. Turn on the bright lights in your house. If possible, step outside for just 5 minutes and let the natural morning light hit your eyes. This signals to your brain that the day has begun, and it stops the release of sleep hormones. Next, drink a large glass of water. You have just gone 7 or 8 hours without hydration. Your brain needs water to function. After you drink your water, move your body. Do 10 jumping jacks, stretch your arms. This gets your blood flowing and shakes off the morning grogginess. Now let us look at the science of waking up alert. You might think you are just not a morning person, but science says otherwise. In November of 2022, scientists at the University of California, Berkeley, published a massive study on how to wake up feeling refreshed. They studied over 800 people to find out why some people wake up full of energy while others wake up feeling terrible. They discovered a simple 3-part formula for waking up alert. First, the people who woke up most alert engaged in substantial physical exercise the day before. Second, they slept longer and woke up slightly later in their individual sleep windows, meaning they got a full night of rest. Third, and most importantly, they ate a breakfast high in complex carbohydrates and low in sugar. The researchers found that a stable blood sugar response after breakfast is the absolute key to waking up effectively. Here is how you apply this science to your life. Stop eating sugary cereals and pastries in the morning. A donut will spike your blood sugar and cause a massive crash 2 hours later, leaving you tired and unable to focus. Instead, eat a breakfast designed for sustained energy. Eat steel-cut oats, eggs, whole grain bread or fruit. Feed your brain the fuel it needs to build your wealth. If you eat right and exercise daily, waking up early will become effortless over time. Once you are awake, what do you do with those precious morning hours? You do not check social media. You do not watch the news. You invest that time in yourself. Let us talk about the habit of morning reading. According to Thomas Corley, 88% of self-made millionaires read for at least 30 minutes every single day. But they are not reading entertainment magazines or fiction. They read to learn. They read biographies of successful people. They read books on personal development, history, and finance. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, is famous for reading up to 500 pages a day. Bill Gates reads 50 books a year. They understand that knowledge is a compounding asset. The more you learn, the more you earn. Here is how you build a powerful reading habit. Start small. Do not promise yourself you will read a book a day. That is a recipe for failure. Promise yourself you will read just 10 pages every morning. 10 pages a day equals roughly 300 pages a month, which is about 12 books a year. 12 powerful books a year will completely transform your mindset and your financial life. Choose a book about a skill you want to learn. Set a timer for 20 minutes. Sit in a quiet chair with a pen in your hand. Do not just passively read the words, read actively. Highlight important sentences, write notes in the margins. When you finish your reading session, ask yourself one simple question. How can I apply what I just read to my life today? Knowledge is useless without execution. You must take the information and turn it into action. The next crucial morning habit of the wealthy is physical exercise. You cannot enjoy your wealth if you destroy your health in the process. Wealthy people know that their body is their most important asset. Corley found that 76% of self-made millionaires exercise for at least 30 minutes every day. This is not about trying to look like a fitness model. It is about brain health. Aerobic exercise floods your brain with oxygen and creates new neural pathways. It clears the mental fog. It makes you sharper, more focused, and more resilient to stress. Here is how you implement the daily exercise habit. You do not need an expensive gym membership. You do not need fancy equipment. You just need to move your body. Start by walking out your front door, walk for 15 minutes in one direction, turn around and walk 15 minutes back. That is your 30 minutes. Do this every single morning. As you walk, do not listen to music. Listen to educational audio programs. Listen to interviews with people who have achieved the success you want. This allows you to stack your habits. You are building your physical health and your mental wealth at the exact same time. If it rains, do push-ups and squats in your living room. The method does not matter as much as the consistency. Make exercise a non-negotiable part of your morning routine. Treat it like an important business meeting with yourself. You would not cancel a meeting with a millionaire, so do not cancel a meeting with your own health. After you have fed your mind and moved your body, it is time to plan your day. The rich do not wander through life aimlessly. They move with intense purpose. They know exactly what they want to get done before the day even begins. Corley noted that 81% of folks who feel financially comfortable keep daily to-do lists, compared to only 19% of those who might be struggling. Setting friendly goals gives your day a nice flow. Here is a gentle way to practice daily planning. Take out a blank piece of paper. Try not to use your phone for this because it can be easy to get sidetracked. Write down the top 3 most helpful things you would like to finish today to gently move your life forward. Not 10 things, just 3. If you have 20 things on your list, you might feel a bit rushed and find it hard to finish anything. Focus on the most meaningful steps. What are the 3 little steps that will actually bring you closer to financial peace? Write them down clearly. Then, set aside a specific time block for each one. Some business leaders block their days into tiny 5-minute pieces to get more done. You really do not need to be that strict at all, but it helps to gently set aside specific hours for specific tasks. For example, tell yourself that from 9 to 11 in the morning, you will work only on your most meaningful project. No phone calls, no emails, just quiet, peaceful effort. When you outline your day on paper, you take gentle charge of your time. Time is a special resource we cannot buy back. Treat your time with care. Spend it happily and wisely. Let us put this lovely morning routine together into a clear, simple timeline. Imagine your alarm goes off at 5 in the morning. It is across the room. You get out of bed smoothly. You turn it off. You drink a large glass of water. From 5 to 5:15, you do some light stretching or walking to gently wake up. From 5:15 to 5:45, you sit quietly and read 10 pages of a helpful book. You jot down some thoughts. You nourish your mind. From 5:45 to 6:15, you enjoy 30 minutes of exercise. You move around. You build a lovely new habit. From 6:15 to 6:30, you take a shower and get dressed. From 6:30 to 6:45, you enjoy a healthy breakfast of wholesome, nourishing food. From 6:45 to 7, you sit down with a pen and paper. You write down your 3 main goals for the day. By 7 in the morning, while others might still be hitting the snooze button and waking up slowly, you have already nourished your mind, refreshed yourself, and gently organized your day. You have already set a wonderful tone for the morning. It is so helpful to know that building financial ease is not a secret kept for a chosen few. It is simply the natural result of steady, positive daily habits. It is really about taking steady steps. Enjoying this routine for one day will not magically create wealth overnight. Doing it for 1 week will not instantly change your bank account. But practicing it happily every single day for years can beautifully guide the direction of your life. It is entirely up to you. You get to shape your own lovely path. Your morning is a nice, fresh start. Instead of letting the day just rush by, you can gently guide how it unfolds. Try to care for the little routines you create. Let go of the patterns that hold you back financially. Welcome the little actions that help you save and grow. It might feel a bit tricky at first. It is totally normal to feel hesitant about change. You might just want to stay tucked into a warm bed. When that happens, gently remind yourself of what you are hoping to achieve. Remind yourself that stretching out of your cozy zone helps you grow. A little bit of gentle effort now feels so much lighter than wishing you had started later. Choose that nice, steady effort every single morning. Wake up with a hopeful heart. Approach your goals with a happy, steady spirit. You already have everything you need inside of you right now to start building your financial comfort. It starts tomorrow morning. Set your alarm. Place it across the room. Give this new routine a fair try. The path to financial ease is walked one cozy morning at a time. Take that first gentle step. Keep moving forward. Build a solid base. Your future self will be so thankful for the care you put in today. Chapter 2. The Magic of Compounding. If you want to learn how savings really grow, it helps to look at a wonderful concept in personal finance. It is an idea so neat that it can turn a very small amount of saved money into a lovely nest egg over time. It is not a secret or tricky strategy. It is not a hidden real estate trick. It is just the simple, everyday beauty of compounding. Compounding is the quiet helper that supports almost everyone who has grown their savings over the years. In this chapter, we will talk about what compounding is, why it can be a little tricky to picture at first, and most importantly, how you can start using it today to happily improve your financial future. We are not going to look at confusing charts or complicated math. We are going to look at everyday life, the simple mindset of saving, and the easy steps you can take right now to get this helpful habit going. To put it in the simplest terms possible, compounding is what happens when your money makes a little extra money, and then that new money makes even more money. Imagine you are standing at the top of a very long, snow-covered hill. You reach down and pack a handful of snow together into a small ball. You place that small snowball on the ground and you give it a gentle push down the hill. At first, it rolls very slowly. It only picks up a tiny bit of snow as it turns. If you look at it after a few feet, it does not seem like much has changed. It is still just a small ball of snow. But as it continues to roll, something lovely happens. Because the snowball is slightly bigger, its outside edges are larger, which means it can pick up even more snow on the next roll. As it rolls further down the hill, it begins to grow faster and faster. It picks up a lovely pace. Halfway down the hill, it is the size of a bowling ball. 3/4 of the way down the hill, it is the size of a car. By the time it reaches the bottom of the long hill, that tiny handful of snow has become a wonderfully giant, rolling mound of snow. This is exactly how compounding works with your savings, your routines, and your skills. The only tricky part is that it is very normal for us to feel a little impatient sometimes. We live in a world where we often want things right away. We want the giant snowball right now. We do not want to wait for it to gently roll all the way down the hill. We want the savings right this minute. Because we do not see a huge difference right away, when we start setting aside small amounts of money, we sometimes feel discouraged and stop trying. We stop rolling the snowball. We tell ourselves that saving $20 a week is silly because it feels like it will never be enough. But that is just a little mix-up about how savings actually grow. Financial comfort is not created in a day. It is gently nurtured over many years. Let us look at a wonderful example of this idea. Let us look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is widely known as a very wise and patient investor. His savings go up and down, but he has built a very large amount of wealth over time. When most folks look at Warren Buffett, they think he must have some magic recipe. They think he must be able to guess the future or outplay everyone else on Wall Street. But a financial writer named Morgan Housel shared a very neat fact in his book about how we think about money. Housel noted that almost all of Warren Buffett's wealth blossomed after his 50th birthday. Even more amazing, 97% of his savings grew after he turned 65 years old. Take a moment to just imagine that. Almost all of his financial growth came after he turned 50. How did that happen? The answer is simply time. Warren Buffett did not suddenly learn a secret trick at age 50. The real reason for his success is that he started saving when he was just 10 years old. He has been rolling his little financial snowball down the hill for over 80 years. If Warren Buffett had taken a more common path, if he had started saving in his 20s and then decided to just play golf in Florida at 60, you might have never heard his name. He would have been very comfortable, but he would not be a famous household name. His secret is not just about getting the highest numbers back. His secret is the wonderful amount of time he allowed his savings to gently grow. He simply never interrupted the lovely process. He just let the snowball keep rolling. This beautifully shows that time is the most helpful friend you have when building savings. It is more helpful than a big salary. It is more helpful than your background. It is even more helpful than picking the perfect stock. If you can give your money enough time to blossom, you can reach a lovely sense of financial peace. But doing this asks for a little bit of patience, which can be hard to find these days. It requires the ability to wait for a treat. Waiting for a treat means kindly passing up a small reward right now so you can enjoy a much bigger, happier reward later on. This is truly the foundation of any peaceful financial journey. If you find it too hard to wait, it can be very tricky to grow your savings. It just takes time and a positive attitude. To see why waiting can feel so hard, we can look at a well-known little project done with children back in the year 1972 at a university. A teacher named Walter Mischel set up a fun activity to see how patient young children could be. Folks often call this the marshmallow activity. In this activity, the helpers brought kids who were around 4 or 5 years old into a room one by one. In the center of the room was a table, and on the table was a plate. On the plate was a single, fluffy marshmallow. The grown-up told the child that they were going to step out of the room for about 15 minutes. The child was given a simple choice. They could eat the single marshmallow right now. But if they could wait until the grown-up came back without eating the marshmallow, they would get a second marshmallow as a special treat. 1 treat now or 2 treats later. It was a classic chance to practice patience. The helpers then left the room and happily watched the children through a special window. The videos from these moments are both funny and sweet to watch. About 30% of the children ate the marshmallow almost right away. As soon as the door closed, they grabbed the sweet and enjoyed it. Having the treat right then and there was just too tempting. The remaining children tried their best to wait. They came up with all sorts of cute ideas to keep their minds off the fluffy marshmallow sitting right in front of them. Some children covered their eyes so they would not have to look at it. Some children turned their chairs around to face the wall. Some sang sweet songs to themselves. Some tapped the desk gently. Some put their heads down on their arms and tried to sleep. In the end, only about 30% of the children were able to happily wait the entire 15 minutes to receive the second marshmallow. While this little activity is sweet on its own, the really neat part came decades later. The original helpers caught up with these exact same children as they grew into teenagers and adults to see how they were doing. What they found was so heartwarming. The children who were able to wait patiently for the second marshmallow generally seemed to experience very sunny, positive paths in life. They did well on their high school tests. They had an easier time managing daily worries. They enjoyed their schooling. They generally made much healthier lifestyle choices. They kept up wonderful habits for their daily well-being, and perhaps most importantly for our chat, they were much more likely to feel comfortable with their finances. Why did the children who waited have such a lovely time as they grew up? Because the exact same mental muscle that is required to wait for a second marshmallow is the exact same mental muscle required to save money. The modern world is completely filled with financial marshmallows. Every time you open your phone, an advertisement tries to sell you a new pair of shoes, a new car, or a new television. Credit card companies offer you the ability to buy these things immediately, even if you do not have the money. They are offering you the single marshmallow right now. When you take out a loan to buy a car, you cannot afford to impress people you do not even like. You are eating the marshmallow. When you put a luxury vacation on a high-interest credit card, you are eating the marshmallow. To build wealth, you must train your brain to wait for the second marshmallow. You must look at the expensive car and realize that if you take that monthly payment and invest it instead, it will turn into an absolute fortune in the future. You are sacrificing a small comfort today for massive financial freedom tomorrow. How do we actually train this delayed gratification muscle in our daily lives? Here is your first highly actionable step. It is called the 48-hour rule. From this day forward, whenever you feel the urge to make a non-essential purchase that costs over a certain amount of money, let us say $50, you must force yourself to wait 48 hours before buying it. If you see a jacket online that you want, put it in the digital cart, but do not check out. Close the laptop, walk away. Force a 48-hour gap between the impulse and the action. What you will discover is that your emotional desire to buy the item will completely evaporate after a day or two. You will realize you did not actually need the jacket. You just wanted the temporary dopamine rush of buying something new. By implementing this simple daily habit, you will save yourself thousands of dollars a year. That is money that you can now use to build your financial snowball. Now that we understand the psychology of delayed gratification, let us dive deeply into the mathematics of compounding to see exactly why it is so powerful. I want to present you with a hypothetical choice. It is a famous thought experiment that perfectly illustrates how badly the human brain misunderstands exponential growth. Imagine I offer you two options. Option one is a briefcase containing $1 million in cold, hard cash right now. Option two is a single magical copper penny. But this penny has a special property. It will double in value every single day for 30 days. Which option do you choose? Almost everyone instinctively chooses the $1 million. It feels safe. It is a huge amount of money. The idea of a single penny seems completely worthless. But let us walk through the math of the doubling penny to see what actually happens. On day 1, you have 1 cent. On day 2, it doubles to 2 cents. On day 3, it doubles to 4 cents. On day 4, it is 8 cents. By day 10, 1/3 of the way through the month, your magical doubling penny has only grown to $5.12. At this point, if you chose the penny, you are probably feeling completely foolish. Your friend who took the $1 million is driving a luxury sports car and buying a mansion. You have enough money to buy a cup of coffee. This is the exact point where most people give up on building wealth. This is the valley of disappointment. You have been saving, you have been investing, you have been disciplined, and your account balance still looks tiny, but you must not interrupt the compounding. You must let it keep doubling. Let us keep going. On day 15, halfway through the month, your penny has grown to $163. On day 20, 2/3 of the way through the month, it is at $5,242. It is still nowhere near $1 million. But watch what happens in the final 10 days. This is where the magic of compounding truly explodes. On day 25, the amount reaches $167,000. On day 28, it passes $1.3 million. You have finally beaten the briefcase of cash, but we still have 2 days left. On day 29, it doubles to $2.6 million. And on day 30, the final day of the month, your single insignificant penny has compounded into an astonishing $5,368,000. You have over 5 times the wealth of the person who took the immediate $1 million. The lesson here is monumental. The massive growth of compounding always happens at the very end of the timeline. The heaviest snow is gathered at the very bottom of the hill. If you quit on day 20, you walk away with $5,000. If you stay patient for just 10 more days, you walk away with $5 million. You must apply this exact mathematical patience to your own investments. When you start setting aside $200 a month into an investment account, it will feel incredibly slow for the first 5 years. It will feel like you are not making any progress. You will be tempted to pull the money out and spend it on a vacation. You must remember the magic penny. You must leave the money alone. You must let it double. Let us translate this concept from theoretical math into a real-world scenario. Let us look at how the timing of your investments completely dictates your financial outcome. We are going to compare 2 hypothetical investors. Let us call them Investor A and Investor B. Investor A understands the magic of compounding and the importance of starting early. Investor A starts investing at age 20. They invest $300 every single month. They do this for just 10 years. When they reach age 30, they stop putting new money in. They do not invest another single dime for the rest of their life. They just let the money sit there and compound until they retire at age 65. In total, Investor A contributed $36,000 out of their own pocket over those 10 years. Now let us look at Investor B. Investor B decides to spend their 20s having fun. They buy expensive clothes, they lease expensive cars, they eat the marshmallow. When they reach age 30, they suddenly realize they need to start preparing for their future. So, Investor B starts investing the exact same amount, $300 a month. But because they started late, they have to keep investing every single month for the next 35 years until they reach age 65. In total, Investor B contributes $126,000 out of their own pocket. Assuming both investors earn the exact same average market return of around 8 to 10%, who ends up with more money at age 65? Astonishingly, Investor A wins by a massive margin. Even though Investor A only put in money for 10 years and contributed a fraction of what Investor B contributed, their final portfolio will be significantly larger. Why? Because Investor A gave their money 10 extra years to roll down the hill. That early money had more time to compound, and eventually the compounding growth became far more powerful than the actual monthly contributions of Investor B. This proves a fundamental principle of building wealth. It is not about timing the market, it is about time in the market. Every single day that you wait to start saving and investing is a day of compounding growth that you can never get back. If you are young, your absolute greatest financial asset is not your current salary. Your greatest asset is time. A 20-year-old making minimum wage who invests $50 a month has a massive advantage over a 40-year-old making a six-figure salary who is just starting out. If you are older and feel like you have missed the boat, do not despair. The second best time to plant a tree is today. You still have time to let compounding work, but you must take action immediately. So how do we find the money to start this compounding process? Many people believe they do not make enough money to invest. They think investing is only for rich people. This is a limiting belief that will keep you poor forever. You do not need to be rich to start investing. You just need to be strategic with your daily habits. Financial author David Buck coined a brilliant concept known as the latte factor. The premise is very simple. Small daily expenses that seem completely harmless can actually drain millions of dollars of potential wealth from your future. Think about your daily routine. Do you stop at a coffee shop every morning and spend $5 on a specialty drink? $5 seems like nothing. It is pocket change. But let us apply the magic of compounding to that daily $5 habit. $5 a day is roughly $150 a month. If instead of buying that coffee you took that $150 every month and invested it in an index fund tracking the S&P 500, the math becomes staggering. Over 30 years, assuming a historical average return, that daily cup of coffee would grow into over $300,000. If you extend that timeline to 40 years, it grows into nearly $1 million. Let that reality sink in. That morning, coffee is literally costing you $1 million in retirement. And it is not just coffee, it is the streaming subscriptions you never watch. It is the food delivery apps that charge you double the price for a meal. It is the habit of buying a new phone every single year when your old phone works perfectly fine. These are all micro leaks in your financial boat. By themselves, they seem harmless. But together, over decades, they will sink you. Your next actionable step is to perform a strict financial audit on your life this week. Sit down with your bank statements from the last 3 months. Look at every single transaction. Highlight every recurring subscription. Highlight every time you ate at a restaurant. Highlight every impulse purchase. You will be absolutely shocked at how much money you are wasting on things that do not bring you true, lasting happiness. Find just $150 a month to cut. Everyone can find $150. Cancel the subscriptions. Make your coffee at home. Cook your own meals. Take that money and set up an automatic monthly transfer into an investment account. You have just taken the first massive step toward financial independence. You have just built your first snowball. But the magic of compounding is not strictly limited to money. This is a profound concept that applies to every single area of your life. It applies to your health, your relationships, and your personal skills. Author James Clear wrote extensively about this in his work on habit formation. He popularized the concept of getting just 1% better every day. Clear pointed out that human beings are obsessed with massive transformations. We want to lose 50 pounds in a month. We want to read an entire book in a weekend. We want to double our income overnight. But massive transformations are rarely sustainable. You burn out. The far more effective strategy is to aim for tiny, marginal improvements. If you can focus on making yourself just 1% better every single day, the compounding effect over time is miraculous. Let us look at the math of getting 1% better. If you improve by just 1% every day for one entire year, you do not just get 365% better. Since tiny habits build on each other, you can find yourself much further along than when you first began. You will be so happy with the lovely progress you can see in just 1 year. Try to learn a little bit every day, like reading a short story about money while you have breakfast. These small bits of knowledge build a wonderful base of wisdom that helps you see nice opportunities. You can also grow your skills at work by practicing for just 15 minutes a day to be more helpful to others. When you are a joy to work with, it often leads to better pay, which helps your savings grow. To make saving easy, try to remove any extra hurdles that make the good choice feel tricky. Setting up a way for your money to be put away on its own is much better than trying to remember it every month. We can learn from the story of the marshmallow that waiting for a reward is a great way to help your future. The man named Warren showed us that giving your money time to grow is better than trying to guess the right moment. Even small daily costs can add up, so it is a nice idea to gently look over your choices to find a few extra dollars. The path to keeping more money is simple, but it takes steady patience to stay with it while others are spending. In the book by a man named George, we learn the golden rule: a part of all you earn is yours to keep. Usually, our money goes quickly to pay for our home, the grocery store, and all our other bills. It can feel like you are giving your time just to pay everyone else. So try to change the order. Before you pay for anything else, take a set amount and put it in a safe place for your future. This is a gentle gift to yourself that builds peace of mind every single month. The usual way of saving what is left often fails because our spending naturally grows to match what we make. If we save for ourselves first, we can help our money blossom without feeling like it is a hard task. There might not be much left at the end of the month. Daily spending just seems to find a way to use up what is there. People who have nice savings do things the other way around. Their simple way is to take out savings first and then spend what is left. The very first thing they do when they get paid is move some money to their savings. They look after their future first, putting the money in a safe spot. Then they happily live their life with whatever money is left. If there is not enough for something big like a new car, they just wait a while. By saving first, they stay away from the habit of spending too much. You might wonder why you cannot just promise to be more careful with spending. Why can you not just make a plan, try your best, and save what is left at the end of the month? The answer is just about how our daily attention naturally works. To see why following hard rules is so tricky, we can look at a nice little test from the year 1998 by a teacher named Roy. He wanted to see how our daily spirit and drive work. He wanted to know if we have a lot of it, or if we just run out. To find out, he asked some students to skip a meal so they would be very hungry when they arrived. He brought them into a room, one by one. In the middle, there was a table with 2 plates of food. One plate had warm, fresh cookies. The room smelled wonderful, like sweet baking. The other plate had plain radishes. He put the hungry students into 2 groups. He told the first group they could eat the warm cookies, but to leave the radishes alone. He told the second group they could only eat the radishes and to skip the cookies. Then the team left and watched quietly. The students eating cookies were very happy and pleased. The students eating radishes felt a bit left out. They really wanted the cookies and smelled the chocolate. Some even picked up the cookies just to smell them. But they followed the rules and ate the plain radishes. They used a lot of their inner strength to say no to the treats right in front of them. Soon, the team came back and took the food away. They gave everyone a tricky puzzle to do. The students did not know the puzzle was impossible. The team wanted to see how long they would try before they felt tired and quit. The results really changed how we think about our daily spirit. The students who had the cookies were still full of spirit and tried the puzzle for a long time before stopping. But the students who had the radishes stopped after only a few minutes. They quit much sooner. Why? Because they were already tired from saying no to the cookies. Our daily attention is something that slowly runs low. It works just like a phone battery. Every time you make a hard choice or say no to a treat, that inner battery goes down a bit. Just stopping and picking a different way takes some of your daily strength. By the evening, you might feel very tired. When this happens, it is harder to make good choices for your future. Your careful side takes a break, and the part of you that wants to be cozy takes over. That side is not really thinking about savings. It just wants to be cozy and have a treat. It helps to remember this tiredness when thinking about money. Think about your day. You wake up and use spirit to get out of bed. You use attention to get through the drive to work. You use even more spirit talking with people all morning. You use attention to do all the little things at your desk. You use attention to say no to snacks at work. By the time you get home, your inner battery might be very low. You might just want to rest without thinking about any rules. If your savings plan needs you to log in, see what is left, and move the money yourself, it can be very hard to do. Your tired mind wants a break. It tells you that you worked hard and deserve something nice. You might decide to spend that money on a nice dinner or a small trip to rest. Using your daily strength to save is hard because our busy days are tiring. Our best plans can slip away when we are tired. A nice way to handle this is to let your setup do the saving for you. You can let your savings happen on their own. You can set up a quiet way for it to happen without you needing to do anything. This is a sweet habit that many people use. They do not have to wake up and try hard to save every day. They made the choice once and use simple tools to make it happen on its own. When it happens on its own, you fix the biggest problem, which is extra steps. An extra step is just anything that makes a good habit feel like more work. If you have to log in, do math and click buttons every time you want to save, it is a lot of work. Making it happen on its own takes away those steps. It helps you save money before you even see it. When the money is put away and you do not see it, you do not think about it. It is much easier not to spend it then. To see how helpful this is, we can look at a nice story about how people handle money. Years ago, two friendly teachers noticed a common problem people have at work. A company saw its team was not saving enough for later. The people were very smart and knew they should save, but they were tired at the end of the day and spent more as they made more. It was hard to move money out of their pay. They felt they needed all their pay for daily life. The teachers had a clever idea called Save More Tomorrow. The idea was built around how we naturally like to do things. Instead of asking people to save money they have now, they asked them to save money from future raises. For example, if they got a small raise, some of that new money would go to savings and some would go to their pay. Because it came from a future raise, nobody felt a loss. Their pay never actually went down. It just grew a little slower. The best part was that it happened all by itself. They only had to choose to join once. After that, it happened quietly in the background. They never had to think about it again. The results were lovely and brought nice changes. Before this, the team was only saving a tiny bit of their pay. After joining the plan for a while, their savings grew to a much larger amount. Most people happily joined, and most stayed with it for years because it was so easy. When we do not have to choose every day, we just stick with what is already there. This story shows that people want to save, but it helps when the system does the work for them. You can be your own gentle guide. You can set up your own plan. It is nice to let it happen on its own so it grows. Before you start, it helps to know where the money goes. You just need a simple way to sort your pay. You do not need a big, difficult list. Hard plans feel like too much and take too much attention to keep up with. You just need a simple way. One of the nicest ways to handle savings is a simple rule about percentages. This rule was shared by a lady named Elizabeth in her nice book about money. The idea takes your pay and gently puts it into 3 different spots. The first spot is for your everyday needs. This should be about half of your pay. Needs are the things you use to live and go to work. This includes your rent or house payment. It includes groceries. It covers bills like water and light. It includes any regular payments for money you borrowed. It also includes the cost of getting to work. If you had a hard time, these are the things you would still want to pay for. Imagine a friend who makes $4,000 a month. Half of that is $2,000. So their bills should fit inside that amount. If their rent is high, they only have a little left for food and lights. They might see that too much goes to their home, which makes things feel a little tight. If your needs cost more than half of your pay, it might be a good time to gently change your plan. The second bucket is dedicated to your personal wants. This bucket gets exactly 30% of your income. It is very important to understand that building wealth is not about living a miserable, deprived life in a dark room. You are absolutely allowed to enjoy the hard-earned money you create. Your wants include dining out at nice restaurants with your friends. They include buying nice clothes that are not strictly necessary for your job. They include going to the movie theater, buying concert tickets, taking weekend vacations, and paying for digital streaming services. In our example of the person making $4,000 a month, 30% equals $1,200. That is a massive, generous amount of money allowed for pure enjoyment and hobbies. The 30% bucket gives you total psychological permission to spend money on things that bring you happiness without feeling an ounce of guilt, because you know with absolute certainty that your financial future is already funded. The third bucket is the most critical component of your entire life. This is your savings and investment bucket. This is where you actually pay yourself first. Exactly 20% of your take-home pay must go into this bucket immediately upon receiving your paycheck. This 20% is the snowball we discussed in the previous chapter. This is the capital that will compound over decades and buy your ultimate financial freedom. In our $4,000 a month example, 20% is $800. By automatically sweeping that $800 away every single month, this person is saving nearly $10,000 a year without even thinking about it. Over 10 years, that is $100,000 of raw savings, and that does not even include the massive, explosive gains from compounding interest in the stock market. This bucket is used exclusively for building your emergency fund, investing for retirement, and paying off toxic high-interest debt. Now that you clearly understand the mathematical percentages of the 50-30-20 rule, we must construct the actual physical machinery that will route your money to the correct places. You absolutely cannot keep all your money sitting in one single checking account. If you log into your bank application and see a massive pile of unallocated cash sitting in one place, your emotional brain will think you are rich. Your willpower will fail, and you will be intensely tempted to spend it. You must create a system of artificial scarcity by moving the money completely out of sight. You need 3 specific, separate types of accounts to build your wealth machine. First, you need a primary checking account. This account serves entirely as your central processing hub. It is the main train station of your financial life. Your money arrives here from your employer, but it absolutely does not stay here. It only stops temporarily before being routed to its final destination. The only money that should ever remain in this primary checking account is the exact amount needed to pay your basic 50% needs and your 30% wants, plus a small cash buffer to prevent any accidental overdraft fees. Second, you need a high-yield savings account. This is a completely separate account, ideally held at a completely different banking institution than your checking account to create a wall of friction between you and your savings. A traditional savings account at a massive physical brick-and-mortar bank usually pays an incredibly low interest rate of basically 0. If you leave your money there, the silent thief of economic inflation will destroy its purchasing power over time. A high-yield savings account, which is usually offered by online banks that do not have the massive expense of operating physical branch buildings, pays a significantly higher interest rate on your money. This specific account is where you will securely store your emergency fund. Third, you need an investment account. This could be a personal brokerage account or an employer-sponsored retirement plan. This is the compounding engine where your long-term generational wealth is actually generated by buying assets that appreciate in value. Once you have these three specific accounts open and active, you must connect them using the power of automatic transfers. Most modern employers allow you to seamlessly split your direct deposit. You can walk into your human resources department and instruct them to send exactly 20% of your paycheck directly to your high-yield savings account or your investment account before the money ever touches your main checking account. If your employer does not offer this helpful feature, you can simply log into your banking portal and set up an automatic, recurring transfer. You must set this transfer to execute on the exact same day your paycheck arrives. By the time you wake up on payday morning, your 20% has already completely vanished into your wealth-building accounts. You have paid yourself first without lifting a single finger. Your willpower battery remains completely full, and your financial future is completely secure. The very first and most urgent target for your 20% savings bucket must be a fully funded emergency fund. You absolutely cannot start aggressively investing your money in the volatile stock market if you do not have secure cash reserves to handle the inevitable disasters of human life. Life is incredibly unpredictable and often very cruel. Your car engine will break down, the roof of your house will leak during a storm. You will experience unexpected, expensive medical issues. You might lose your job due to corporate downsizing. If you do not have an emergency fund, every single minor inconvenience immediately becomes a massive, life-altering financial crisis. Let us look closely at the terrifying, sobering reality of the modern economy. According to a comprehensive, deeply researched survey conducted by Bankrate in the years 2024 and 2025, and continually reaffirmed by the latest data, a staggering 59% of adults in the United States cannot afford a $1,000 emergency expense using their savings. In the most recent 2026 survey data, over 50% of Americans still reported they lack sufficient liquidity to cover a simple $1,000 emergency. This means over half the population is walking on a dangerous financial tightrope with absolutely no safety net below them. When Bankrate analyzed the data further, they found that inflation and elevated interest rates were the primary reasons people could not save. The study noted that younger generations, especially millennials between the ages of 29 and 44, were the most likely to have completely drained their emergency savings just to pay for basic monthly bills, day-to-day expenses, and medical emergencies. Furthermore, the Federal Reserve conducts an annual study called the Survey of Household Economics and Decision-Making. Recent data from this massive government report revealed that when faced with a relatively small, hypothetical, unexpected expense of just $400, over 37% of adults would not be able to cover it completely with cash or its equivalent. Even more terrifying, 13% of the entire population would be entirely unable to pay a $400 bill by any means whatsoever. They would be forced to take out predatory payday loans, sell their personal belongings, or beg for borrowed money from family members just to survive a minor inconvenience. This extreme level of financial fragility causes immense psychological stress. It destroys your mental health and your peace of mind. It traps you in terrible jobs with toxic bosses because you literally cannot afford to miss a single paycheck. Your emergency fund is your impenetrable financial fortress. It protects your investments. If you have all your money tied up in the stock market and your transmission explodes, you do not want to be forced to sell your stocks during a massive market downturn just to pay the mechanic. Your emergency fund acts as a vital shock absorber for the bumps in the road of life. Describe the physical feeling of an emergency when you are broke. Your heart drops into your stomach, your throat tightens. The mechanic tells you the repair will cost $1,000. Without an emergency fund, this is a catastrophe. You are forced to pull out a credit card with a 25% interest rate. You swipe the card. Now a simple mechanical failure has trapped you in a vicious cycle of high-interest debt that will take you years to pay off. You will pay thousands of extra dollars in interest alone, making that car repair astronomically expensive. But imagine the exact same scenario when you have a fully funded high-yield savings account. The mechanic gives you the bad news. You do not panic. Your heart rate does not elevate. You calmly transfer the funds from your savings account to your checking account. You pay the bill in cash. The emergency is completely neutralized. It is instantly downgraded from a life-altering crisis to a minor temporary inconvenience. You drive away with total peace of mind. That incredible peace of mind is the true return on investment of an emergency fund. It is not about the small interest rate you earn on the cash. It is about the psychological armor it provides you. Your initial goal is to save $1,000 as fast as humanly possible. Sell things you do not need. Work extra hours on the weekend. Do whatever it legally takes to reach that initial $1,000 mark. Once you hit that first milestone, your next goal is to build an emergency fund that can cover 3 to 6 months of your absolute basic living expenses. Calculate exactly how much money you need to survive for 1 month if you lost your job. Multiply that exact number by 6. That is your ultimate target. Keep this money in your high-yield savings account, where it is perfectly safe, entirely liquid, and easily accessible. Do not invest this money in risky assets. The purpose of an emergency fund is not to make you rich. The purpose of an emergency fund is to keep you from becoming poor when disaster inevitably strikes. As you automate your savings and force your lifestyle to fit into the remaining 80% of your income, you will need to fundamentally change the way you think about buying consumer goods. You must learn the critical, wealth-defining difference between being frugal and being cheap. Wealthy people are extremely frugal. Poor people are often cheap. Being cheap means you make your purchasing decisions based entirely on the lowest initial price tag, completely regardless of the quality or the durability of the item. Being frugal means you make your purchasing decisions based on the long-term value and the total cost of ownership over the lifespan of the item. Let us explore a famous conceptual framework known as the Boots theory of socio-economic unfairness. Imagine 2 workers who both desperately need a pair of boots for their hard physical labor. The cheap worker looks at a pair of high-quality, durable leather boots that cost $100. He thinks that is far too expensive. Instead, he buys a cheap, poorly made pair of boots for only $20. The frugal worker, who understands the concept of long-term value, saves up his money and buys the $100 pair of boots. What happens over the next 5 years of hard labor? The cheap $20 boots have terrible thin soles. They leak cold water. They hurt the worker's feet. And because they are so poorly made, they completely fall apart after just 6 months. The cheap worker has to go back to the store and buy another $20 pair. He does this twice a year for 5 entire years. By the end of the 5 years, the cheap worker has spent $200 on boots, and his feet are still continually wet and in pain. The frugal worker, however, bought the $100 boots. Because they were made of excellent leather and had strong, thick soles, they lasted the entire 5 years without breaking down. His feet remained dry and comfortable. At the end of the 5 years, the frugal worker has only spent $100, while the cheap worker has spent twice as much money. The cheap worker spent more money to receive a significantly worse experience. This is the ultimate trap of buying low-quality goods. When you buy cheap things that break quickly, you enter a permanent cycle of endless replacement. To build wealth, you must adopt the mindset of the frugal worker. You must always calculate the cost per wear or the cost per use. If you buy a winter coat for $50 and it rips after one single winter, your cost per use is extremely high. If you buy a high-quality winter coat for $200 and it lasts for 10 long winters, your cost per use is incredibly low. You are actually saving massive amounts of money by buying the more expensive, higher quality item. Stop buying cheap kitchen appliances that break in a month. Stop buying cheap clothes that fall apart in the washing machine. Save your money, wait patiently, and buy high-quality items that will last a lifetime. This simple psychological shift in perspective will drastically reduce your long-term expenses and leave far more money in your bank account to fuel your compounding machine. Finally, we must address the massive elephant in the room. You cannot truly pay yourself first and build massive wealth if you are currently carrying toxic, high-interest consumer debt. Credit card debt is the exact mathematical opposite of compounding wealth. It is compounding poverty. When you owe money on a credit card at a 20% interest rate, the snowball is rolling backward down the hill, completely crushing your financial future. The giant banking corporations are using the magic of compounding against you to steal your wealth. If you have credit card debt, you must use your 20% savings bucket to attack it with absolute, relentless ruthlessness. You must treat this high-interest debt as a literal emergency. There are two primary mathematical strategies for paying off debt, and you can automate both of them. The first is the debt avalanche method. The second is the debt snowball method. The debt avalanche method is the absolute most mathematically efficient way to clear your balances. You list all your debts in order from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate, completely ignoring the total balance of the loan. You set up automatic payments for the minimum amount due on all the lower interest loans. Then you take every single extra dollar from your 20% bucket and automatically apply it to the loan with the highest interest rate. Let us give a concrete example of the debt avalanche. Suppose you have a credit card with a balance of $5,000 at a terrible interest rate of 24%. You also have a car loan of $15,000 at an interest rate of 6%. And you have a student loan of $20,000 at an interest rate of 4%. Common sense might falsely tell you to attack the massive student loan first because it is the largest number. But the brutal math of the debt avalanche tells you to ruthlessly attack the credit card first. That 24% interest rate is a financial emergency. It is bleeding your wealth dry every single day. You pay the absolute minimum on the car and the student loan, and you pour every available dollar into the credit card. Once the credit card is completely gone, you take all the money you were throwing at it and cascade it down like a massive avalanche onto the car loan. This minimizes the total amount of money the banks can steal from you in interest charges. However, human beings are not always perfectly mathematical creatures. We are highly emotional creatures. Sometimes we need quick psychological victories to stay motivated on a long journey. That is exactly where the debt snowball method comes in. With this alternative method, you list your debts in order from the smallest total balance to the largest total balance, completely ignoring the interest rates. You automate the minimum payments on the larger balances and you throw all your extra money at the smallest balance. Because the balance is so small, you will pay it off very quickly. This quick victory gives your brain a massive rush of dopamine. You feel a profound sense of accomplishment. You cross that debt off your list forever. You then take the money from that finished debt and roll it into a larger snowball, attacking the next smallest balance. While this method might cost you slightly more in interest over time, it provides the powerful psychological momentum necessary to keep going. Choose whichever method fits your personality, but the execution must absolutely be automatic. Log into your banking portal and set up recurring payments that exceed the minimum requirement. Force the money out of your account before you have a chance to spend it. Let us bring all these incredibly powerful concepts together. Paying yourself first is not just a clever financial tactic, it is a profound, life-changing declaration of your own self-worth. When you spend all your money on consumer goods, you are working entirely to enrich other people. You are trading the precious, irreplaceable hours of your life to buy the chief executive officer of a clothing company a new luxury yacht. You are trading your energy to buy the shareholders of a technology company another vacation home. Every single time you tap your credit card to buy something you do not truly need, you are giving your life energy away to a massive corporation. You must stop enriching everyone else at the expense of your own future. You deserve the wealth you create. By paying yourself first, you are finally putting yourself at the very front of the line. You are boldly declaring that your future freedom, your peace of mind, and your family security are vastly more important than keeping up with the latest consumer trends. The system we have outlined in this chapter is completely foolproof. You now know the terrifying biological weakness of human willpower. You know about the radish eaters. You know that you absolutely cannot rely on your discipline at the end of a long, exhausting day. You must remove your own emotions from the equation entirely. You must embrace the invisible, unstoppable power of automation. You understand the profound success of the Save More Tomorrow program. You know that small automated adjustments will completely transform your financial trajectory over time. You have the exact mathematical blueprint for your income. The 50-30-20 rule provides the perfect, sustainable balance between living for today and preparing for tomorrow. You know exactly how to structure your accounts. The checking account is the train station, the high-yield savings account is the fortress, and the investment account is the wealth engine. You understand the dire necessity of an emergency fund. You will not be part of the terrifying statistics of people who are destroyed by a simple $400 inconvenience. You have learned the critical difference between the cheap worker and the frugal worker. You will focus intensely on long-term value over short-term price tags. And you have the strategies to aggressively eradicate any toxic debt that is holding you back. The path is perfectly clear. The tools are right in front of you. The only thing missing is your immediate, decisive action. Do not wait until next month. Do not wait until you get a raise. Do not wait until you feel ready. The perfect moment will never arrive. The time to take complete control of your financial destiny is right now, today. Open up your computer tonight. Set up your high-yield savings account. Establish that automatic 20% transfer. Build your fortress. Protect your future. Take your money back from the corporations and keep it for yourself. You have the intelligence, the strength, and the capability to build a life of complete financial freedom. Trust the system. Automate your success. Watch your wealth grow silently, powerfully, and unstoppably in the background of your life. Chapter 4. Health and Time. If you have carefully followed the principles in the previous chapters, you now possess the absolute mathematical blueprint for financial freedom. You understand the astonishing magic of compounding. You know how to delay gratification and resist the daily temptations that keep average people broke. You have learned exactly how to build an invisible, automated banking machine that pays you first and protects your future. But all of these mechanical strategies and financial systems rely on one fundamental assumption. They assume that you will actually be alive, healthy, and energized enough to push the snowball down the hill. What good is a multi-million-dollar investment portfolio if you are sitting in a hospital bed? What good is a perfectly automated banking system if you are too exhausted and burnt out to enjoy the life you are building? In this chapter, we are going to radically shift our perspective. We're going to stop looking at the numbers in your bank account and start looking closely at the two most valuable, irreplaceable assets you will ever possess: your physical health and your daily time. The wealthy understand a profound truth that the middle class completely ignores. Health and time are the actual currencies of life. Money is simply a byproduct of how well you manage your health and your time. If you squander your physical energy by eating terrible food and refusing to sleep, you will never have the mental stamina required to make intelligent financial decisions. If you squander your time by staring at a glowing screen for 7 hours a day, you will never have the opportunity to build your skills and increase your value to the marketplace. We are going to explore the terrifying, verified statistics regarding how poor health is completely destroying the modern economy. We will look at the exact science of sleep and how a lack of rest literally makes you poorer. We will completely dismantle the modern obsession with busyness. Most importantly, we will provide you with the exact, step-by-step, actionable habits you need to reclaim your energy, take back your calendar, and multiply your daily productivity. Let us begin with the ultimate biological currency: sleep. There is a toxic, pervasive myth in modern hustle culture. You hear it everywhere on social media. People say that if you want to be a millionaire, you have to sleep when you are dead. They say you must sacrifice your rest, work 20 hours a day, and run on pure caffeine and willpower. This is not just terrible advice. It is scientifically and financially disastrous. Refusing to sleep does not make you a hero. It makes you biologically incompetent and financially vulnerable. To understand the massive financial impact of sleep, we must look at the groundbreaking research of Matthew Walker, a renowned professor of neuroscience and psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Professor Walker has spent decades studying the exact biological functions of sleep and how they impact human performance. The data he has uncovered regarding the economic cost of sleep deprivation is absolutely staggering. According to a massive study conducted by the research organization RAND Europe, and frequently cited by Professor Walker, chronic sleep deficiency drains the United States economy by an estimated $411 billion every single year. Let that number sink into your mind. $411 billion. That is roughly 2.28% of the entire gross domestic product of the country. This massive sum of money is completely lost due to reduced workplace productivity, severe cognitive impairment, workplace accidents, and massive strains on the healthcare system caused by tired workers. The problem is not unique to America. The exact same study found that sleep deprivation costs the economy of Japan $138 billion annually. It costs the economy of Germany $60 billion. It costs the United Kingdom $50 billion. When you refuse to sleep, you are not increasing your productivity. You are actively destroying it. Professor Walker notes that employees who consistently sleep less than 6 hours a night lose the equivalent of 6 full workdays of productivity every single year, compared to those who get 7 or 8 hours of rest. They are physically sitting at their desks, but their brains are completely malfunctioning. Let us look closely at what actually happens inside your brain when you try to operate on 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Professor Walker points out a terrifying medical reality. After being awake for 20 hours straight, you are as cognitively impaired as someone who is legally drunk. If you came to your office heavily intoxicated, you would be immediately fired because you would be a massive liability. But when you come to the office severely sleep-deprived, society wrongly congratulates you for being a hard worker. When you are sleep-deprived, the absolute first thing to shut down is the prefrontal cortex of your brain. As we discussed in the previous chapters, the prefrontal cortex is the logical, rational, long-term planning center of your mind. It is the exact part of the brain you desperately need to successfully pass the Stanford Marshmallow test. It is the part of the brain that allows you to delay gratification. When your prefrontal cortex shuts down due to exhaustion, the primitive, emotional center of your brain takes complete control. This means that a lack of sleep directly causes you to make terrible financial decisions. When you are exhausted, your willpower battery is entirely empty before the day even begins. You are highly impulsive. You are far more likely to buy expensive, unhealthy fast food because you do not have the energy to cook. You are far more likely to skip your daily workout. You are far more likely to make an impulsive online purchase just to get a quick rush of dopamine to wake yourself up. You are vastly more likely to snap at your boss or your co-workers, jeopardizing your primary source of income. Sleep debt acts exactly like high-interest credit card debt. It aggressively compounds against you, stealing your health, your intelligence, and your wealth every single day. How do we fix this? You must immediately reframe how you view your bedtime. Sleep is not a luxury. Sleep is your most powerful economic engine. Sleep is a daily financial investment that pays massive guaranteed dividends in cognitive sharpness, emotional resilience, and physical energy. You need a specific, actionable system to guarantee you get 7 to 8 hours of high-quality sleep every single night. Here is the exact step-by-step protocol to optimize your sleep and protect your biological wealth. First, you must establish an absolute non-negotiable sleep schedule. Your brain has a built-in evolutionary clock called a circadian rhythm. It absolutely craves consistency. If you go to bed at 10 at night on a Tuesday, but stay up until 2 in the morning on a Friday, you are throwing your brain into a state of permanent biological jet lag. You must go to bed at the exact same time and wake up at the exact same time every single day, including the weekends. Do not negotiate with this rule. Set an alarm on your phone for 1 hour before your actual bedtime. When that alarm rings, it is your signal to begin shutting down your life. Second, you must completely manipulate the light in your environment. Human biology is designed to fall asleep when the sun goes down and wake up when the sun comes up. In the modern world, we have completely destroyed this natural cycle with artificial lighting. The absolute worst offender is the blue light emitted by your cellular phone, your computer monitor, and your television screen. Blue light completely stops your brain from producing melatonin, which is the vital hormone that signals to your body that it is time to sleep. You must enforce a strict digital curfew. 1 hour before your designated bedtime, you must turn off all electronic screens. Do not watch television in bed. Do not scroll through social media under the covers. If you absolutely must read from a screen, invest in a pair of high-quality blue light blocking glasses. But ideally, you should switch to reading a physical paper book. This single habit will dramatically decrease the time it takes you to fall asleep. Third, you must control the temperature of your sleeping environment. To fall into a deep, restorative sleep, your core body temperature actually needs to drop by about 1 or 2 degrees. If your bedroom is too warm, your brain will struggle to initiate the sleep sequence. The optimal sleeping temperature for most human beings is surprisingly cool, generally between 60 degrees and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Turn your thermostat down before you get into bed. Wear light clothing. Use breathable blankets. You want your room to mimic a dark, cool cave. Fourth, you must aggressively protect your mornings with natural light. The moment your morning alarm goes off, as we discussed in Chapter 1, you must immediately expose your eyes to bright sunlight. This instantly shuts off the remaining melatonin in your brain and resets your circadian clock for the new day. By implementing this strict 4-part sleep protocol, you will completely eliminate the brain fog that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. You will wake up with the mental clarity required to dominate your financial goals. Now that we have secured your rest, we must look at the waking physical engine of your body, your diet, and your daily physical movement. Let us look at the terrifying financial cost of poor physical health. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recently reported that productivity losses linked directly to employee absenteeism cost employers $225.8 billion annually in the United States alone. That breaks down to roughly $1,685 per employee every single year. But absenteeism is only half the problem. There is an even more insidious phenomenon known as presenteeism. Presenteeism occurs when an employee is physically present at their job, but they are severely ill, suffering from a chronic health condition, or completely exhausted, meaning their actual productivity is effectively zero. Research cited by the Harvard Business Review estimates that presenteeism costs employers an astonishing $150 billion to $250 billion every single year. When you look at the individual level, the statistics become deeply personal and incredibly frightening. According to health and wellness economic data, treating chronic, lifestyle-related diseases completely destroys personal wealth. For example, the average annual medical cost for a person living with diabetes is over $19,000, with the vast majority of that cost directly tied to the disease itself. Heart disease and stroke cost the American healthcare system $254 billion a year. The tragedy of these statistics is that a massive percentage of these chronic conditions are entirely preventable through basic daily lifestyle habits. Remember the concept of the cheap worker and the frugal worker from the previous chapter. The cheap worker bought the terrible $20 boots, and it ended up costing him twice as much money in the long run. We must apply this exact same financial logic to your physical body. When you buy cheap, highly processed fast food because you want to save a few dollars today, you are acting exactly like the cheap worker. You are completely ignoring the long-term cost. That cheap hamburger is going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars in medical bills, prescription medications, and lost wages 10 years from now. Eating healthy food is not an expense. It is a vital financial investment that pays massive dividends by keeping you out of the hospital. You must completely eliminate the excuse that healthy food is too expensive. Rice, beans, frozen vegetables, eggs, and lean meats are incredibly cheap if you take the time to buy them at a grocery store and cook them yourself. The perceived high cost of healthy eating only exists if you are buying prepackaged diet meals or shopping at luxury organic supermarkets. Your actionable step for nutrition is to embrace the habit of Sunday meal preparation. The reason most people eat terrible food during the week is not because they want to be unhealthy. It is because they are exhausted after a long day of work. Their willpower battery is empty, and buying a pizza is the path of least resistance. You must remove the friction. Dedicate 2 hours every single Sunday afternoon to cooking your meals for the entire week. Cook a massive batch of chicken, rice, and vegetables. Put them in individual glass containers in your refrigerator. When you come home completely exhausted on a Wednesday night, you do not have to make a decision. You do not have to use any willpower. You simply open the refrigerator, take out a healthy meal, and warm it up. You have automated your physical health in the exact same way you automated your savings account. Furthermore, you absolutely must move your body every single day. We established this in the morning routine chapter, but it bears repeating with a financial focus. Human bodies were not designed to sit in a hunched position, staring at a glowing rectangle for 10 hours a day. Sedentary lifestyles lead directly to obesity, back pain, and depression. You do not need to train like a professional athlete. You do not need to spend $200 a month on a fancy gym membership. You simply need 30 minutes of elevated heart rate every day. Walk briskly, do push-ups in your bedroom, run up and down the stairs in your apartment building. Movement floods your brain with oxygen and releases endorphins, which are natural chemicals that dramatically reduce stress and improve your cognitive focus. Protect your physical engine, and it will carry you to financial freedom. Now, we must transition to the second most important asset in the universe: time. Time is the great equalizer. It is the only completely democratic resource on the planet. The poorest person on Earth and the richest billionaire both have the exact same 24 hours in a day. You can always earn more money. You can lose your entire fortune in a terrible investment, and you can build it all back the very next year. But you absolutely cannot buy back a single second of your time. Once an hour passes, it is gone forever into the void of history. Despite this profound reality, the average person treats their time as if it were entirely worthless. They guard their money with passwords, safes, and locks, but they let absolutely anyone steal their time. To understand how badly we are squandering our lives, we must look at the deeply alarming statistics regarding modern screen time. According to comprehensive global data gathered by market research firms and technology trackers between the years 2024 and 2026, the average adult in the United States currently spends an astonishing 6 hours and 40 minutes to over 7 hours every single day looking at digital screens for pure entertainment and social media consumption. This does not even include the time spent looking at screens for their actual jobs. Let us do the terrifying math on that statistic. If you spend 7 hours a day looking at a screen, that equals 49 hours a week. That is more time than a full-time job. Over the course of a single month, you are spending roughly 210 hours staring at a screen. Over the course of one entire year, you are spending 2,555 hours completely hypnotized by a device. If we divide that by 24 hours, it equals roughly 106 full days. The average adult is throwing away over 1/3 of their entire waking year scrolling through meaningless digital content. This is not an accident. The massive technology corporations have hired the greatest psychological minds in the world to design applications that completely hijack your dopamine system. They use the exact same variable reward psychology found in casino slot machines. Every time you pull down to refresh your social media feed, you are pulling the lever on a digital slot machine, hoping to win a small hit of dopamine in the form of a funny video or a notification. These massive companies are stealing your most valuable, irreplaceable asset, your time, and they are selling it to advertisers to make themselves billions of dollars. You are making them rich while keeping yourself poor. Think about the massive opportunity cost of those 7 hours a day. The opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative that you gave up. If you took just 2 of those daily screen hours and redirected them toward building your wealth, your life would become unrecognizable. 2 hours a day is 14 hours a week. In 14 hours a week, you could easily read 2 entire educational books. In 14 hours a week, you could build a profitable side business. In 14 hours a week, you could learn a completely new, high-paying technical skill. In 14 hours a week, you could exercise, cook healthy meals, and still have time left over to spend with your family. You must aggressively take your time back. You need a ruthless system to stop the digital bleeding. Your actionable step is to perform a strict 3-day time audit. You cannot manage what you do not measure. Most people wildly underestimate how much time they waste because scrolling on a phone puts the brain into a mild hypnotic trance where time simply vanishes. For the next 3 consecutive days, you are going to carry a small physical notebook and a pen in your pocket. Every single time 30 minutes passes, you must write down exactly what you did during that 30-minute block. Be brutally honest with yourself. If you spent 30 minutes sitting on the couch, scrolling through short-form videos, write it down. If you spent 30 minutes staring out the window worrying about the future, write it down. If you actually spent 30 minutes doing deep, focused work, write it down. At the end of the 3 days, sit down and look at your notebook. You will be absolutely horrified. You will see massive, gaping holes in your schedule where hours completely evaporated into nothingness. You will finally realize that you do not have a lack of time. You have a profound lack of focus. You have plenty of time to build wealth. You are simply choosing to give it away to technology companies. Once you have identified your time leaks, you must implement strict friction against your worst digital habits. Go into the settings of your cellular phone right now. Find the application limits feature. Set a hard daily limit of 30 minutes for all of your social media applications. Once the 30 minutes is up, the phone will lock you out of the application. Do not override the lock. Furthermore, completely turn off all non-essential push notifications. Your phone should never vibrate or light up unless it is a text message or a phone call from a real human being. You must completely disconnect from the endless cycle of breaking news and digital gossip. When you regain control of your attention, you regain control of your life. Now that you have plugged the leaks and reclaimed your hours, you need to know exactly how to spend that time for maximum financial impact. The wealthy do not just work hard. A ditch digger works incredibly hard, but he will rarely become a millionaire. The wealthy work strategically. To understand how they multiply their productivity, you must master the ultimate law of time management, the Pareto Principle. The Pareto Principle is named after Vilfredo Pareto, a brilliant Italian economist who lived in the late 19th century. In the year 1896, Pareto was studying the distribution of wealth in Italy. He made a fascinating mathematical discovery. He realized that exactly 80% of the land in Italy was owned by exactly 20% of the population. Intrigued by this ratio, Pareto began looking at other areas of life. He looked at his own garden and noticed that 20% of the pea pods produced 80% of the actual peas. This profound observation evolved into a universal law of extreme asymmetry. The Pareto Principle states that in almost any situation, roughly 80% of the consequences come from exactly 20% of the causes. 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Let us apply this directly to the modern business world. If you look at any successful company, you will find that 80% of their total sales revenue comes from exactly 20% of their customers. If you look at a software application, 80% of the crashes are caused by 20% of the technical bugs. If you look at an office environment, 80% of the actual valuable work is produced by exactly 20% of the employees. This principle completely shatters the illusion of the standard to-do list. The average person writes down 10 things to do in a day. They treat all 10 items as if they have the exact same level of importance. They start their day by doing the easiest, fastest tasks first. They answer some emails. They organize their desk. They chat with a coworker. At the end of the day, they have checked off 8 out of the 10 items on their list. They feel incredibly busy, they feel exhausted, but their life has not changed and their income has not increased. Why? Because they spent their entire day doing the trivial 80% of tasks that only produce 20% of the results. They completely ignored the 2 massive, difficult tasks that would have actually moved the needle. Wealthy people operate entirely inside the 20%. They aggressively hunt for the high-yield actions. If you want to maximize your time, you must become ruthless about identifying your own personal 20%. Here is your actionable step to apply the Pareto Principle today. Look at your daily task list. Ask yourself one simple, clarifying question. If I could only accomplish exactly one thing on this list today, before having to stop working, which single task would have the greatest positive impact on my long-term financial goals? Circle that task in red ink. That is your 20% task. That is your needle mover. You must build a fortress around that specific task. You must attack that task first thing in the morning when your willpower battery is completely full and your mind is perfectly sharp from a great night of sleep. Do not open your email. Do not check your phone. Do not speak to anyone. Put on noise-cancelling headphones and pour all of your physical and mental energy into completing that single high-yield task. Once that task is finished, the entire rest of the day is a massive success, no matter what else happens. By consistently executing your top 20% actions every single day, your productivity will compound just like your money compounds in the stock market. You will accomplish more in one focused hour than most people accomplish in an entire 40-hour work week. But to protect your ability to focus on the 20%, you have to develop the single most difficult, uncomfortable habit in the entire wealth-building arsenal. You must learn how to say no. There is a famous concept heavily attributed to the billionaire investor Warren Buffett. Buffett noted that the absolute difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. When you are young and broke, your strategy is usually to say yes to everything. You say yes to every opportunity, every extra shift at work, and every networking event, hoping that something positive will happen. But as you begin to build your skills and your value increases, your strategy must completely reverse. Every time you say yes to a trivial request, you are mathematically saying no to your own 20% goals. If a coworker asks you to help them with a project that is completely outside your responsibilities, and you say yes just to be polite, you have just stolen 3 hours from your own future. If a friend invites you to go out drinking on a Thursday night, and you say yes because you fear missing out, you have just ruined your Friday morning productivity. Your time is a precious, finite container. If you let other people fill your container with their priorities, you will have absolutely no room left for your own. You must realize that being agreeable is not a financial strategy. The modern world respects boundaries. If you constantly say yes to every single distraction, people will not respect you. They will simply view you as a tool they can use to make their own lives easier. Saying no is incredibly difficult for the human ego. We are biologically wired as tribal creatures. We want to be liked. We fear rejection. We fear making people angry. When someone asks us for a favor face to face, the social pressure is immense. Our emotional brain panics, and the word yes falls out of our mouth before we even have a chance to think about the consequences. Here is your final actionable step to master the art of protecting your time. You must implement the 24-hour default no policy. Whenever anyone asks you to commit your time to a new project, a meeting, or a social event that is not an absolute life-threatening emergency, you must never give them an answer immediately. You must train yourself to use a very specific, polite phrase. You will look them in the eye and say, "That sounds interesting. Let me check my calendar and get back to you tomorrow." This simple phrase is a massive psychological shield. It removes the intense, immediate pressure of the face-to-face interaction. It buys you exactly 24 hours to engage your prefrontal cortex. Once you are alone, you can look at your calendar logically. You can look at your top 20% goals. You can calmly ask yourself, does this new commitment actively help me build my wealth and achieve my goals? Or is it just a distraction? If it is a distraction, you send them a polite email the next day declining the invitation. By using written communication instead of a face-to-face meeting, you completely remove the emotional friction of saying no. Let us completely review the immense power of this chapter. You now understand that money without health and time is a completely empty victory. You know that sleep is the ultimate biological currency. You understand the devastating $411 billion economic cost of sleep deprivation. You know exactly how to protect your rest with a strict schedule, digital curfews, and temperature control. You have seen the terrible cost of absenteeism and presenteeism. You know that chronic disease will completely destroy your wealth. You will no longer act like the cheap worker who buys terrible food to save a few dollars today. You will become the frugal worker who invests in high-quality nutrition and meal preparation to secure a healthy, energetic future. You have committed to moving your physical body every single day to keep your brain sharp and flooded with oxygen. You recognize the terrifying statistics regarding modern screen time. You know that spending 7 hours a day looking at digital entertainment is completely destroying your potential. You will complete a 3-day time audit to find your leaks, and you will set strict application limits on your digital devices. You have learned the absolute law of time management, the Pareto principle. You will stop writing endless, trivial to-do lists. You will ruthlessly hunt for the top 20% of tasks that produce 80% of your results, and you will attack them first thing in the morning. Finally, you have learned the ultimate wealth hack of the billionaire class. You know that your time is a finite container, and you must protect it fiercely. You will use the 24-hour default no policy to defend your schedule from the endless distractions of the modern world. Your physical energy and your daily time are the raw fuel that powers your wealth-building machine. If the fuel tank is completely empty, the machine will not run, no matter how perfectly you designed it. Take complete control of your body. Take absolute control of your calendar. Stop giving your life away to the technology companies and the endless demands of other people. Guard your hours as fiercely as you guard your bank account. The clock is ticking right now. Every second that passes is a second you will never get back. Use them wisely, use them strategically, and use them to build a life of total, unshakable freedom. Chapter 5. Long-term investing made simple. When most people hear the word stock market, they immediately feel a deep sense of anxiety and intimidation. They picture a massive room completely filled with screaming men in expensive suits. They picture massive computer monitors flashing bright green and red numbers. They picture the aggressive, high-stress environment of Wall Street billionaires gambling with the money of ordinary citizens. Because of these terrifying mental images created by Hollywood movies and the mainstream financial news networks, millions of hard-working people refuse to ever invest their money. They believe that the stock market is a dangerous casino. They tell themselves that investing is only for mathematical geniuses or people who already have massive fortunes. They decide that the safest place for their hard-earned money is hidden away in a traditional savings account. This tragic misunderstanding is the single greatest barrier to financial freedom in the modern world. The truth is that real, sustainable wealth building is not exciting. It is not aggressive. It does not involve screaming at computer monitors or making split-second decisions. True investing is actually incredibly boring. It is slow, predictable, and requires almost no daily effort once you set up the correct system. In this chapter, we are going to completely demystify the stock market. We are going to strip away the confusing jargon and the Wall Street illusions. We will explore the devastating failure rate of day traders, the incredible, historically proven power of index funds, the psychological traps that cause average people to lose their money, and the exact, simple steps you must take to build a long-term investment portfolio that works silently in the background of your life. To understand how to invest correctly, we must first look at how you should absolutely never invest. We must look at the toxic modern obsession with day trading. In recent years, primarily driven by the explosion of social media and mobile trading applications, a massive wave of young people have attempted to get rich quick by buying and selling stocks on a daily basis. They watch videos of young men driving luxury sports cars and claiming they made tens of thousands of dollars in a single afternoon by trading from their cellular phones. They are selling you a devastating lie. They are selling you the illusion of fast money, and it is destroying the financial futures of countless people. Let us look at the brutal, unshakable mathematical reality of day trading. Comprehensive studies of modern financial markets have revealed terrifying statistics regarding the failure rate of active short-term traders. According to data compiled by financial research organizations in the years 2025 and 2026, an astonishing 80% to 95% of all retail day traders completely lose their money. Some studies indicate that up to 97% of day traders are unprofitable over a longer period. Furthermore, approximately 40% of new day traders quit within their very first month because the losses are so severe and immediate. If you look at a timeline of 5 years, less than 5% of day traders are still actively trading and actually making a consistent profit. Why is the failure rate so astronomical? Because day trading is not investing. Day trading is purely speculative gambling. When you attempt to day trade, you are playing a brutal zero-sum game against the most sophisticated financial institutions on the planet. You are sitting at your kitchen table with a laptop, trying to outsmart massive Wall Street firms that possess billion-dollar budgets, teams of mathematical scientists, and artificial intelligence algorithms that can execute thousands of trades in a single millisecond. You are bringing a wooden stick to a technological war you cannot possibly win. Furthermore, the emotional toll of day trading is completely devastating. When you day trade, you must constantly monitor the financial news. You must stare at the price of a stock as it violently moves up and down every single minute. When the price goes up, your brain is flooded with a massive surge of dopamine and greed. When the price crashes, you are overwhelmed by a terrifying surge of cortisol and panic. This constant, extreme emotional roller coaster completely drains your willpower battery and destroys your mental health. It takes you away from your family, it ruins your focus at your actual job, and it turns your life into a permanent state of stress. To build true wealth, you must completely abandon the gambler mindset. You must stop trying to predict the future. You must stop looking for the next big technology stock or the secret internet trend. You must embrace the philosophy of the true investor. What does it actually mean to invest in the stock market? At its absolute core, buying a stock simply means you are buying a tiny, fractional ownership piece of a real, physical business. When you buy a share of a publicly traded coffee company, you become a part owner of that company. You own a microscopic fraction of their coffee machines, their store buildings, and their brand name. When millions of people around the world buy a cup of coffee from that company every single morning, a tiny fraction of that profit belongs to you. You do not have to roast the coffee beans. You do not have to sweep the floors of the store. You do not have to manage the employees. You simply provide the capital, and the thousands of employees at that company go to work every single day to make you wealthier. This is the ultimate transition you must make to achieve financial independence. You must transition from being purely a consumer to being an owner. However, trying to pick the single best company to own is incredibly difficult and highly risky. Even massive, famous companies can go bankrupt due to bad management or changing technology. If you put all your money into one single company and that company fails, your entire financial future is destroyed. This is the exact problem that plagued average investors for decades. But in the year 1975, a brilliant man named John Bogle completely revolutionized the financial world. John Bogle founded an investment company called Vanguard, and he created the very first index fund available to the general public. An index fund is a completely passive investment vehicle that does not try to pick the winning stocks. Instead, an index fund simply buys a tiny piece of every single major company in the entire stock market. The most famous and powerful index fund in the world tracks something called the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a massive collection of the 500 largest, most profitable, and most successful publicly traded companies in the United States. It includes the massive technology giants, the massive healthcare corporations, the massive banks, and the massive consumer goods companies. When you purchase a single share of an S&P 500 index fund, your money is automatically divided up and invested across all 500 of those massive companies simultaneously. You instantly achieve total perfect diversification. If one company in the index has a terrible year and goes bankrupt, it does not destroy your wealth because you still own 499 other highly successful companies. As John Bogle famously said, instead of trying to find the needle in the haystack, you should simply buy the entire haystack. Let us look at the astonishing, historically proven performance of the S&P 500. Since its inception in the year 1957, the S&P 500 has generated an average annual return of approximately 10%. Let that number sink in. 10% average growth every single year for nearly 7 decades. This historic timeline includes massive global conflicts, terrifying economic recessions, massive spikes in inflation, global health crises, and intense political turmoil. Through every single disaster in modern human history, the massive engine of the American economy has continually recovered, adapted, and grown larger, pushing the stock market higher and higher over the long term. If we apply the magic of compounding that we discussed in Chapter 2 to this historical 10% average return, the math becomes absolutely life-changing. If you start investing $500 every single month into an S&P 500 index fund at age 25, and you simply leave it alone until you are 65 years old, you will have contributed a total of $240,000 of your own money. But thanks to the massive compounding growth of the stock market, your final account balance would grow to an astonishing $2.6 million. You literally create millions of dollars out of thin air simply by owning a piece of the global economy and waiting patiently. If this strategy is so incredibly simple and guaranteed by decades of historical data, why is every single person not a millionaire? Why do average people constantly lose money in the stock market? The answer is incredibly profound, and it is the most important lesson you will learn in this entire book. Average people lose money because human biology is completely incompatible with long-term investing. Your brain is hardwired for survival in the wild, not for making rational decisions in a modern financial market. To understand this catastrophic biological flaw, we must examine a famous, ongoing research project known as the quantitative analysis of investor behavior, conducted by a prominent financial research firm called Dalbar. For over 3 decades, the Dalbar researchers have tracked the actual returns earned by average everyday investors compared to the actual returns generated by the overall stock market. The results of this massive study are absolutely heartbreaking. In their research data extending over a 20-year period, the Dalbar study consistently shows that the average investor completely fails to capture the massive gains of the market. For example, during a period where the S&P 500 generated an average annual return of roughly 10%, the average retail investor only earned an average return of around 5%. In recent data from the year 2024 and 2025, the massive gap between the market return and the average investor return remains staggeringly high. The average investor is constantly losing vast amounts of their potential wealth. Why does this massive investor gap exist? The Dalbar study concludes that the primary reason average people fail is because of their own destructive behavior. Specifically, average people are obsessed with trying to time the market. Market timing is the dangerous belief that you can predict exactly when the stock market is going to drop and exactly when it is going to rise. When the stock market is booming and everyone is making money, the average person is completely overcome by a powerful emotion called the fear of missing out. They see their friends and their neighbors getting rich. So, at the very peak of the market bubble, when prices are at their absolute highest, the average person finally decides to buy in. They buy high. Then, inevitably, the stock market experiences a natural, healthy correction. Prices begin to drop. The financial news networks begin broadcasting terrifying headlines about the end of the economy. The average person watches their account balance drop by 10%, then 20%. They are suddenly overcome by an overwhelming, primal sense of panic. Their emotional brain takes over. They convince themselves that the market is going to completely collapse to zero. In a desperate attempt to stop the pain, they log into their account and they sell every single thing they own. They sell low. By buying high out of greed and selling low out of panic, the average investor completely destroys their compounding engine. They lock in their losses permanently. The most tragic part of this cycle is what happens next. After the average person sells all their stocks and runs away, the stock market inevitably hits the bottom and begins a massive, rapid recovery. But the average person is too terrified to buy back in. They sit on the sidelines with their cash, waiting for the perfect time to re-enter the market. The perfect time never comes, and they completely miss out on the massive gains of the recovery. To prove exactly how dangerous it is to sit on the sidelines, we must look at a brilliant and terrifying study conducted by J.P. Morgan Asset Management. The researchers at J.P. Morgan looked at a 20-year period of the S&P 500. They wanted to see what would happen to an investor if they tried to time the market and accidentally missed the very best days of stock market performance. The data they uncovered completely destroys the concept of market timing. Over a 20-year period, if an investor simply bought an index fund and left it completely alone, they would have earned roughly a 9.8% annualized return. But if that exact same investor tried to jump in and out of the market to avoid the crashes, and in doing so, they missed just the 10 single best days in the entire 20-year period, their return was cut almost exactly in half, dropping down to roughly 5.6%. If they missed the 20 best days over 2 decades, their returns collapsed to almost nothing. This proves a monumental financial truth. The vast majority of all stock market gains occur in tiny, concentrated bursts of explosive growth. You absolutely cannot predict when those explosive days will happen. Furthermore, the J.P. Morgan study revealed a terrifying correlation. They found that historically, 7 of the 10 best days in the stock market usually occur within exactly 15 days of the absolute worst days in the stock market. Let us visualize exactly what this means in the real world. Imagine a massive economic crisis hits the country. The stock market plummets. You log into your account on a Tuesday, and you see that your portfolio has dropped by a massive 5% in a single afternoon. You panic. You decide you cannot handle the stress anymore, so you sell everything to protect your remaining cash. You feel a temporary sense of relief. But what you do not know is that just 1 week later, on the following Wednesday, the government announces a massive economic rescue plan. The stock market explodes upward, gaining 7% in a single day. Because you sold your stocks the week before, you completely missed the massive recovery. You experienced all of the terrible pain of the crash, but you received absolutely none of the reward of the rebound. The only possible way to guarantee that you capture the 10 best days of the market is to remain fully invested for all 7,300 days of a 20-year period. You must embrace the bad days. You must view market crashes not as a terrifying disaster, but as a completely normal, unavoidable feature of the wealth-building process. In fact, if you truly want to build immense generational wealth, you must train your brain to react to market crashes with intense excitement. You must completely reverse your biological programming. Think about how you act in a traditional retail store. If you walk into your favorite clothing store and you see a massive sign that says everything is 30% off the normal price, you do not panic. You do not run out of the store screaming in terror. You get excited. You buy as many clothes as you possibly can because you recognize a massive bargain. You must view the stock market through this exact same logical lens. When the financial news screams that the market has dropped by 20%, it simply means that the greatest, most profitable companies in the history of human civilization are currently on sale for a 20% discount. It is a clearance sale on wealth. This is the exact moment when self-made millionaires and billionaires become incredibly aggressive. They do not sell their assets. They use their emergency funds and their cash reserves to buy as many discounted shares as humanly possible. They buy the blood in the streets. When the market inevitably recovers 5 years later, those discounted shares multiply their wealth astronomically. Now that you understand the immense power of the index fund, the terrifying trap of market timing, and the absolute necessity of patience, we must discuss the exact physical mechanics of how you actually build this portfolio. We must turn these broad concepts into a simple, actionable strategy that you can execute today. Step 1 is to select a reputable brokerage firm. A brokerage firm is simply the financial institution that provides the digital platform you use to buy and sell investments. You want to choose a massive, established discount broker that charges absolutely zero commission fees for trading. Companies like Fidelity, Charles Schwab, or Vanguard are the gold standard of the industry. You navigate to their website, you fill out a simple application with your personal information, and you connect your primary checking account. The entire process takes less than 15 minutes and can be done entirely from your computer. Step 2 is to select your investment vehicle. If your employer offers a retirement plan, such as a 401k plan, you should absolutely start there, especially if your employer offers a matching contribution. An employer match is literally free money added directly to your wealth, and passing it up is a massive financial mistake. If you do not have an employer plan, you will simply open an individual retirement account or a standard taxable brokerage account directly with the broker you chose in Step 1. Step 3 is to choose the actual index fund. You are looking for a broad market index fund that tracks the S&P 500 or the total stock market. Every major brokerage firm offers their own version of these funds, and they all perform virtually identically because they hold the exact same companies. When you select the fund, you must look very closely at a crucial metric called the expense ratio. The expense ratio is the annual fee the company charges you to manage the fund. Because index funds are run by computer algorithms and not highly paid Wall Street managers, the expense ratio should be incredibly low, typically around 0.03% or lower. This means you keep nearly all of your compounding growth, instead of giving it away in massive management fees. If you want an even simpler solution, you can utilize something called a target date retirement fund. A target date fund is the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it investment vehicle. You simply look at the year you anticipate retiring. For example, if you plan to retire in the year 2055, you select the target date 2055 fund. When you are young, the fund automatically invests your money heavily into stocks to maximize your aggressive compounding growth. As you slowly age and approach the year 2055, the computer algorithm automatically begins shifting your money out of volatile stocks and into stable, secure bonds to protect your capital. You never have to manually rebalance your portfolio. The fund does all the complex mathematical work for you. Step 4 is the absolute most critical phase of the operation. You must completely automate your contributions. As we established in Chapter 3, human willpower is completely useless. If you force yourself to manually log into your brokerage account every single month to buy your index fund, you will eventually fail. You will see a negative news headline, you will get scared, and you will stop investing. You must log into your brokerage platform, find the automatic investment feature, and set it to automatically pull exactly 20% of your income directly from your bank account on the exact day you receive your paycheck. You want the system to automatically use those funds to buy your chosen index fund, completely regardless of what the price of the market is on that specific day. This automatic process is known as dollar cost averaging. By investing the exact same dollar amount every single month, you completely remove the emotional nightmare of trying to time the market. When the stock market is high and expensive, your automatic contribution naturally buys fewer shares. When the stock market crashes and is deeply discounted, your exact same automatic contribution naturally buys vastly more shares. You are mathematically forcing yourself to buy low. Over a period of 30 years, dollar cost averaging guarantees that you achieve an incredibly strong average purchase price for your assets, entirely eliminating the stress of daily price fluctuations. Step 5 is the final and perhaps the most difficult requirement for ultimate success. Once your automatic system is built, your accounts are linked, and your index funds are chosen, you must walk away. You must aggressively protect your mind from financial noise. Delete the stock market applications from your cellular phone. Do not check your account balance every single day. Do not watch the massive financial news networks on television. The business model of the financial media is built entirely on generating fear and outrage. If the news anchor comes on television and says the market is completely fine and you should just leave your index funds alone, no one will watch the program. To generate massive advertising revenue, they must convince you that a catastrophic economic collapse is happening every single week. They want you to panic. They want you to trade constantly. You must ignore them. The stock market is a massive, unstoppable wealth transfer machine. It is designed to transfer money directly from the impatient to the patient, from the emotional to the logical, from the day trader to the long-term investor. Your entire job is to simply stay out of your own way. Let the thousands of chief executive officers and the millions of employees in the S&P 500 go to work for you every single day. Let them invent new technologies. Let them build new factories. Let them discover new medicines. As they grow their businesses, they will grow your wealth. Let us completely review the monumental lessons of this chapter. You have learned that the stock market is not a casino. It is a powerful engine of global ownership. You understand the devastating statistics regarding day trading. You know that attempting to rapidly buy and sell stocks is a guaranteed path to financial ruin, massive stress, and ultimate failure. You have discovered the absolute brilliance of John Bogle and the index fund. You know that you do not need to find the needle in the haystack. You simply need to buy the entire haystack. You understand the historical power of the S&P 500, and you trust the long-term upward trajectory of the human economy. You recognize the terrifying traps of human behavioral psychology. You have seen the heartbreaking data from the Dalbar study proving that average investors destroy their own wealth by panicking and trying to time the market. You will never again let your emotional brain dictate your financial decisions. You understand the profound revelation of the J.P. Morgan study. You know that missing just the 10 best days of the market will completely cripple your long-term returns. You know that the explosive, massive days of growth always happen immediately after the most terrifying crashes. You will never sit on the sidelines holding cash out of fear. You will view massive market downturns as the ultimate opportunity to buy highly discounted assets. You have the exact step-by-step physical blueprint to build your machine. You will open a low-cost brokerage account. You will select a broad market index fund or a target date fund with an incredibly low expense ratio. You will set up an automatic transfer to execute the exact same purchase every single month, perfectly utilizing the power of dollar cost averaging. The path to massive generational wealth is not hidden. It is not incredibly complex. It does not require a genius-level intelligence or a degree in advanced mathematics. It simply requires a solid plan, an automated system, and the iron discipline to do absolutely nothing when the rest of the world is losing their minds. True wealth building is profoundly boring, and that boredom is exactly what makes it so incredibly beautiful. Set up your accounts this week, choose your index fund, automate your monthly contributions, and then close your computer, go outside, spend time with your family, improve your health, and focus entirely on living a magnificent life. Let the invisible, powerful engine of compounding interest run quietly in the background of your existence. In 20 years, when the day traders have lost everything and the market timers are still waiting for the perfect moment, you will wake up to a massive fortune that you built simply by being patient. Trust the strategy. Build the system. Secure your absolute financial freedom. We have now reached the conclusion of our journey together. Let us take a brief moment to reflect on everything we have covered. Building wealth is entirely within your grasp. It starts in the quiet hours of the early morning. It requires you to protect your health and vigorously defend your time. It requires you to delay instant gratification and unleash the unstoppable mathematical force of compounding. It requires you to pay yourself first, building an automated system that protects your financial future before anyone else touches your money. And finally, it requires you to invest with extreme patience, ignoring the frantic noise of the modern world. No one becomes a millionaire overnight. But anyone, regardless of where they start, can begin acting and thinking like a millionaire today. The true secret is consistency. Every time you read a book instead of watching television, you are building wealth. Every time you cook a healthy meal instead of buying fast food, you are building wealth. Every time your automatic transfer buys another share of an index fund, you are building wealth. You are the architect of your future. You have the exact blueprint. Now it is time to build your empire. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. If you found value in this journey to financial freedom and want to keep feeding your mind with knowledge that changes your life, please hit the subscribe button right now. Your support helps bring more incredible content directly to you. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below with your biggest takeaway, and we will see you in the next book.